Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. This evening, my guest will be Miss Judy Williams. She's the co-founder of Mothers of Murdered Offsprings. And we have Miss Sally Coleman. She's the president of the Cabarrus County chapter of Mothers of Murdered Offspring. How y'all ladies doing today?
We're fine.
Fine.
We're fine.
Thank you for coming on the show. This has been a real big issue that we've been having in our, not only our community, but our whole country. Murdered offsprings. Let's go back to 1993. Tell us exactly what happened that made Mothers of Murdered Offspring happen.
On February 19th, 1993, my son David came home, might have been around midnight, and he came in this panic, mama, mama, calling me at the top of his voice. And he said, somebody killed Shauna. And just going back to that time, I just remember sitting up in the bed and not really believing what my ears was hearing. But, hours, on later, people started calling and coming by, and we realized something really, really horrible had happened. She had been killed in her home and drowned in a tub of water, and nobody knew who or why. And several days after that, after her funeral, we were at my house for dinner, and her mom and I got to talking. And that is where the conversation of starting a support group started, because we wanted to, for one, do something to help our friend. And we thought that if there were no other organizations in the city doing this, maybe this would be good for other people too. So about a month and 10 days later, which was March 29th, 1993, we had our very first support meeting.
Ms. Coleman, Sally, tell us what happened to your family in 1993.
It was January the 9th, 1993. I had 4 sons, and I left my house at 12:30 to go somewhere. When I came back around 2:05, police cars and fire trucks and everything was in front of my house, and my 13-year-old son had been shot by a drive-by shooter. That was the day that, like I said, it changed my life, because that was the beginning of the end. That was a day that I never want to relive, a day that I don't want anybody else to have to live, because the loss of a child is nothing that I would wish on my worst enemy.
Take us back as far as the first support group you had with Mothers of Murdered Offspring.
We held our very first meeting at Amy James Neighborhood Center. We had gotten the word out. My son, who by the way is Councilman David Howard, he's one of the co-founders, and he got the word out through the newspapers. He did a very good job getting it out there that we were having this meeting, and we invited families who had loved ones that had been murdered to come. And we just didn't know what we had done. We really didn't, because that night, I will never forget it. It was, people came in with their children's coats, their scrapbooks, their pictures, their tennis shoes, different types of memorabilia that they brought in that night to talk about during that meeting. And I remember Cynthia Williams sang this song, "God Knows What's Best for Me," during that meeting. And I mean, I cried. I think there was not a dry eye in that room that night, because we all cried. And since then, we still run into some of those people, but this is where I met Sally. She was in that first meeting, and we've kind of been together ever since.
Sally, what did you gain from going to that first support meeting?
I gained a friendship, at the start of a new family. And when I say family, sometimes I have to tell people, not a family that was given to me biologically, but a family that was given to me in a different kind of way, the shedding of blood, of our children's blood. it was a release system, a way that, because once that happens to you, people don't know what to say to you. They act like you have a disease. They don't want you to mention your children. It's like if you walk in a room, you got to be quiet because we don't want to mention his name or her name because she may cry. I found out with Mothers of Murdered Offspring, especially with Judy, that if I wanted to cry, I could call her in the middle of the night. She was there for me. There was no shunning of me. I could be me. I could be the person that January the 9th, 1993 had turned me into, a brand new person, a person that wasn't as secure as I used to be, a person that had always taught their children that home, school, and church was the safest places, but then it wasn't. And Mama gave me that sense of security, that sense of I could be who I wanted to be. I could be who I was, the person that my life had changed that day, that I could never go back and be the person that I was before. And I thank God for that. I thank God for Judy. I thank God for Judy being here now with me. And it's been 19 years and we're still friends. We're family. I don't look at her as Judy Williams, Mothers of Murdered Offspring. I look at her as Judy Williams, my friend, my sister, a person that God put in my life to help me, even to today, still go through what I go through.
How do you get the family to deal with the fact that that family member is gone?
I think initially, you can't do that because there are stages of grief, and there are stages they're going to have to go through. And what you have to do is help them to understand, okay, yes, your life has changed, but be patient with yourself. Don't expect yourself to jump right back into a new life because your life has changed forever as it was prior to your loved one being murdered. And I use an example that I've used it many times with them when I'm talking to families. I tell them it's like you're standing at a tunnel. You're standing at the entrance of a tunnel, and in that tunnel it is very, very dark. And you can't see anything but a little glimmer of light way at the end of the tunnel, just a little tiny light. But you're standing there and you're tempted because of the darkness of the unknown of what you're going to encounter, of what you have to deal with in losing that loved one. You're tempted to turn around and go back. But when you turn around, there's a brick wall there, which means you can't go back because that has changed forever. So the only thing you can do is either stand there and make no progress with this, or you can start moving forward. Now, as you move forward, yes, you're going to encounter people who will say careless things. Things like, well, you need to move on. He's dead and gone now. You need to let that go and move on. Get back into your life. Stop doing that. Those are careless remarks that people make. Or like Sally was saying, don't say anything about her child because she may cry. You're gonna run into days when I've been told you don't even want to get out of the bed. You don't want to go to work. You don't want to do anything. You just want to stand there and just feel sorry for yourself. But what I tell them is that in that tunnel, that glimmer of light you see at the end of it is still hope. And if you keep moving toward it, the light gets brighter and brighter and brighter, and you start to run into organizations like MAMO that can help you, get to that next level if you need that. Or we would know who to maybe introduce you to or send you to get the help you want. And if you just keep moving and keep moving, one day you will actually get out into the light on the other side of it, and what you'll be able to do is see all this sunlight and you'll say, I made it. You made it. And all the people that God put in your life along the way are still there. They haven't gone anywhere.
Sally, what do you miss the most about your child not being here today?
The joking, the laughter. My son had his own way of making things funny. He could get in a fight with you, and 5 minutes later, you was his friend. He didn't hold grudges. And his thing about, when I grow up, Mom, you won't have to work. I will take care of you, and I will never leave you. And at the time, when my son was living, I was a smoker. I smoked cigarettes. And he used to tell me, Mom, if you quit smoking, you'll live longer and I'll be with you. Well, that didn't happen. But I did quit smoking. But he still lives with me forever in my heart. Just because your child is murdered, that's something that nobody can take away from you. You always have them in your heart, in your mind. I still, at times, it's his birthday, I still wake up and tell him happy birthday. To say that it's as bad as it used to be, no, it's not. But there is days that you don't feel like getting up. As Judy said, you don't feel like getting up. You don't feel like eating. You feel guilty about things that you are doing, and you're like, they're not here. I have pictures of my other kids in tuxedos. I have graduation pictures, but I don't have any of him. I just moved into a new apartment, and I have his old tennis shoes, because right before he got killed, that Christmas, the only thing he wanted was a white pair of Adidases. And he got his white Adidases for Christmas. But when he got shot, he didn't have them on. And to the day, I still have those white Adidases, and they still have that new smell in them. And every once in a while, I'll go back, get the shoe, and I'll smell it. And it makes me know that he's still here with me.
Why do you see there's so much killing going on in our community? Well, in the whole country, in the world.
Personally, for me, I did not even realize that it was as bad as it is until this incident happened with the Trayvon Martin incident. It was then that I realized that, we were rallying because of this particular incident. But it made me wonder, well, why is it that, there was another Martin, his name was, I can't think of it right now, but anyway, the young man that was killed in Greer Heights.
Correct.
Yeah, his name was also,
Ricky?
his name was also, he was also a Martin. Mm-hmm. And I'm going like, now wait a minute, this was a Martin, this was a Martin. Why is it that we rallied so with this Martin, but we didn't do with this Martin? And come to think of it, we hadn't done it with anybody with any other last name where we know the person was murdered by another black person. And it was then that it kind of grabbed me, kind of made me mad. Why is it that we get so upset when, when somebody else kills one of us, but we don't do it when we kill us? So I asked Gary McFadden, who used to be with the homicide division, who recently retired. And I asked Gary to get me some figures on how many black people killed black people last year. And what he gave me, I was not prepared for. What he told me was that there were over 16,000 black people that died in this country last year at the hands of over 15,000. That blew me out the water, because I could not believe that we had that many people that had killed other black people, and that particular number has a double-edged sword in that it also, you've got the perpetrator's family that's involved in it. That makes that number over 30,000 families that have been affected by homicide in the black community. And I'm going, hey, we've got to do something about this. This just cannot continue. We've got to do whatever it takes to draw awareness to this. Maybe people have just gotten so accustomed to us killing each other to where we don't even care anymore. As long as one of us kills us, it's okay. Well, it's not okay. Not with Judy Williams. It's not okay. It's not okay with Sally Coleman. It's not okay with, I don't think, any other mother or family that you will talk to tell you it's okay that we are killing each other. And we are ready to do something about it nationally.
So what do we go about as far as educating, especially our youth? How do we go about educating them to let them know that this is an issue? Why are we killing one another? How do we?
I think it starts in the home. It starts with the parents. You have too many parents now that is not involved with their children. It's like with a lot of it, you see the parents act like they're afraid to talk to their children. I had a child tell me, we went into the Jackson Training School in Cabarrus County, and the young man says that his mother didn't run her household. He did. And what is that for a 14-year-old child to say? He could run his mother's house because she was afraid of him. The law have it to where a parent, if it hits the child can call the police on the parent. We need to take back our children. We need to take back our streets. We need to let our children know we love you enough to discipline you, because God loves us enough to discipline us when we're wrong. We should love our children enough to discipline them, to let them know, I love you, but I will not stand for you to walk around with guns in your pockets, your pants hanging down, disrespecting people, doing the things that you're doing. We need to take back our children. Nobody else needs to take them back from us. We need to take them back. We need to stop it. We can stop it if we stick together and let people know. What we say in Cabarrus County is murder's not a game show. Nobody wins, but everybody loses. Because you can't take back what you can, and you can't take and give us back what you're taking away from us. And sure, the person that killed us, their family hurts too. It was one predicament in Cabarrus County where I knew both mothers. I knew the mother of the murdered child, and I knew the child that was accused of killing the child. And it was awkward to see these two mothers, both of them crying in front of the jailhouse. One was there to see her son, the other one was there to find out why did they kill her son. It hurt both mothers to stand there. And at that point, I was sort of like in the middle, because the young lady that her son had got killed, her mother had called me and asked me to go to the jailhouse and get her daughter. And when I drove up, I knew both mothers, but I had to go to the mother that had lost her child. But also I had to explain to the mother that the one that her son was accused of killing this child, I gotta be with her right now. It doesn't mean I don't care about you, but I need to be with her. She needs confidence. And you know, it's hard. It's hard when you can see both parents stand there and both of them crying because both of them have lost.
Correct.
Nobody won in this case. Both of them has lost.
Yes, ma'am.
Also, I think, you know, because we have adults that are also killing adults. It's not just the children. Okay. And I think we have to help them to understand the value of life. Somehow we've got to find a way to put value back on life. People think more of things than they do about a life. I had someone recently in my neighborhood where the man was upset because some teenagers were walking across his grass. And you know, he'd asked me before to speak to their parents about him walking across the grass, and I spoke to one parent but hadn't had a chance to talk to the other one. And when he came up that particular day, he was really upset. He goes, well, I don't want a path in my yard. And I said, and I understand that. He said, but if they keep doing it, I've got something for them. And I said, you don't kill people over grass. You don't kill people over grass. We have got to become bigger than things when it comes to a life. I mean, we've got people killing each other over such silly things as something somebody said, or you bumped my car door. I mean, I know somebody, they killed them because they bumped their car door. Or that you looked at me wrong. Why are you looking at me? I mean, we have got to help us to get bigger than those little small things that we think are so important that it causes us to take somebody's life. We've got to get bigger than that. And that's even the adults. It's not just the children. And if we can be better examples for the children in the way we handle stuff, maybe the children may get something out of it too. And realize that, okay, I can't go and shoot somebody because I don't like the way they spoke to me. I mean, we were at a candlelight service one night, and these people came, or we were already there for a young man, and somebody came up and asked for a candle, and the guy didn't like the way he asked him for the candle. They were getting ready to pull guns right there at a candlelight service for somebody else. I'm going like, oh, come on, y'all, we got to do better than this. I mean, we've been to several where people wanted to pull guns out there because somebody did something or said something right then and there that they thought they couldn't outlive. You can outlive anything. You can outlive it if you just let it be like water rolling off your back. But what we've got to do is stop being so sensitive, where people can't say anything to us. Can't nobody say nothing to your children, without you wanting to pull out a gun and kill them. Killing cannot. My thing is, why is it that people have to die? Can't you beat them up? What happened to the little street fights we used to have? What happened to the kick them in the shin or something? Why is it that we gotta kill them? Why do people have to die? So I'm trying to help everybody to understand just that we've got to put value back on life.
How big a picture does peer pressure, self-esteem play in this picture? Come on, Sal.
Because a lot of the teenagers my basic thing, I have dealt with a lot more teenagers. Teenagers now feel like this is the way I can get into a crowd. They won't accept me if I don't do this. Or he talked or she talked to my girlfriend. We went to a memorial service, a candlelight service for a young lady. Her best friend killed her, cut her throat, all over a boy. A disagreement about a boy. A boy said something wrong to her. Her friend cut her throat, went to her house and cut her throat. What kind of friendship was that? Who puts a man or a young man before a friendship with a girl? Judy's my friend. Why would I want to cut Judy over a man? I don't think so. It's not that important. Peer pressure now, and it's different than when we was growing up. They may throw a stick on the ground or something and say, if you step over this stick, you broke my mama's back. Now, they wouldn't handle it the same way. They want to be big in their friends' eyes. But once they commit the crime, their friends walk away and leave them and go get another child to take that place and say, okay, he proved to us that he was big and bad. He killed somebody or he hurt somebody up. We need to take back our children. That's the whole thing. We need to take them back as adults, as mothers and fathers. We need to take it back. We need to let them know that we are proud. We're a proud race of people. We got to get back to understanding and learning to love ourselves. Because a lot of it has to do, we don't love ourselves enough to want to make a difference, to want to take a stand. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Enough is enough. It should not be any more parents having to stand at the cemetery and bury your children. But the parents, you got too many parents just don't even want to hear that until it knock on their door, and then they're like, oh, why wasn't Mothers of Murdered Offspring spared? Why are they not showing up right now? Well, you're the same people that laughed at us and talked about us, and we've been in the parade in Cabarrus County. You know who treats us and smile at us? It's the white people that smiles. Our own color turn their head and look the other way. We got to start looking at each other and knowing we can no longer allow it.
How do we solve this problem? Because it's an issue that's been ongoing. And I know, how do we educate the community? How do we let them know that this needs to stop? Where does it really begin? Where do we start?
I think that, we've got to do something to heighten awareness. As I said earlier, we didn't have too many, I didn't know how bad the numbers were. But now that I know how bad the numbers are, then I know that, hey, we've got to do more than what we've been doing. And we've got to get our church community involved. Just think, if we've got more churches in this city than we've got anything, probably about as many, well, maybe not as many restaurants, but we've got a lot of churches. If we could get our churches more involved, that every time a homicide happens anywhere within within the vicinity of their church, if they got out and do just what we're doing now, which is rallying and protesting and saying, we're not going to stand for this anymore. We are tired of this. And then reach out to help those people they see in trouble. Because there are people in trouble and they know they're in trouble. We got to get out of the seats in the church and get in the streets, which is where the real work is, which is where the work is needed, to let people know they are loved and we care about them. People act out because many of them feel so hopeless and that they don't have a future and that they don't have a life. So they can take a life very easily because they don't feel like theirs is worth much. We've got to do all we can. We have got to become our brother's keeper. And until we become our brother's keeper, we're probably going to see more of this. I am my brother's keeper.
Sally, when you go to the courts, how do you see a sense of, how do you learn how to forgive?
You have to learn to forgive, because if not, it's like a sore. It will fester. It grows on the inside of you. It's up to each individual, but you have to learn to forgive, because that's a process of your healing. If you don't forgive, it will eat away at you. It's like a bad sore that you could never get well. So that's a part of it. And when we go to the courts, we really don't say anything. We just sit there in support of the family. We've had the district attorney walk into the courtroom and see us and nod their head, and thankful that we're there to support that family, because lots of times the murderer has a whole cheering crowd. It's a whole list of people over there cheering this person on that has committed this crime. We've been in the courtroom and watch a murderer turn around and look at the family and give smirks. You know, like it's something big that you've done, but it's not. And this family's sitting here and they're bawling their eyes out, they're crying. And the only thing we can do is sit there and support them and let them know we're here. Because like I told you earlier, we just don't go to them at the time of the death. We're there. Some of my best friends now are women and families that have lost children. And that's because we stay in contact with each other. We there for their birthdays, the anniversary of their children's death. We do so many different things together because we become a family. We become a whole new family when this happens. So when we're in the courthouse, we're there totally to support the family, and forgiveness is a very big part of it. And there is a lot of, whether you believe it or not, a lot of parents or families do find forgiveness for the person that committed the act.
We're running short on time, ladies. I really appreciate you coming on. Anytime you want to come back, just let me know. I mean, because hopefully we can have a part 2 on this and talk more in detail about this issue.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching the show. Go to YouTube. Turn on Paul Brown Show with guests, mothers of murdered offsprings, and you can watch this show over and over again. You be encouraged. Thank you.